If I traded it all, if I gave
Welcome
it
back.
all away for one
My next guest has been on the show many times with me before, and I really enjoy listening to him. I know that every time you talk, I get these saucer eyes, and I get a little nervous, but at the same time, you calm me down. It's really interesting. I have with me David Fisher. He is the CEO of Landmark Gold, Capital Gold, and I want you to talk a little bit about yourself, why you're here today, what's been going on in the market, and how you can help us feel a little bit better.
Well, I'll try and make the last part happen somewhere along the lines to give you a solution to some of the problems that we're going to talk about. But first of all, thank you for having me, as always, on your program. It's always an enjoyment getting the word out there of what's really happening on the cutting edge, behind the scenes, so to speak, behind the curtain, as they would say. I've been in the precious metal industry for 22 years. I've done lots of radio myself. I've had my own radio program for a couple of years here in the Valley. Called The Market Close, and I've done lots of seminars about retirements and how to roll over your 401k, your IRA into self-directed retirement and take physical possession of your metals within your retirement without having a tax liability. And most companies haven't figured that out. But as far as our affiliates, we're accredited members with the Better Business Bureau, and we have an A+ rating. In my industry, there's an entity that's similar to the BBB, and we are a good standing member with them, and that's called ICTA, Industry Council Tangible Asset. I'm also affiliated with the grading services, PCGS and NGC. We're members of them, and I'm a personal member of American Numismatic Association, which is an award that you want to be a part of once you're in the industry for a while.
And how long has that been?
22 years.
22 years. And, before you came on, well, let's talk a little bit about what happened in the world that just happened.
Well, last time I was on your program, which was about 3 weeks ago, we were talking about there's an issue that's going to come up because the Secretary of Treasury, Jacob Lew, wrote a letter to Congress on October 1st saying that unless Congress acts immediately, he said this back then, we're going to have, for the first time in history, a default on our financial obligations, on our debt. And so recently, Congress has been meeting, and it's kind of been somewhat dysfunctional. Of course, they've been dysfunctional, in my opinion, for the last 6-8 years, if not longer, and I'm being very nice when I say that. But what has happened here is today, they struck a verbal agreement. Unfortunately, it's just more of the things that they've been saying. They kick the can down the road today. So in other words, they prolonged this problem of dealing with our debt and said we're going to deal with it in March of 2017. But they exasperated the problem, making it worse by adding what President Obama started talking in February. He wanted all these spending bills to go through. We got 90% of it today, which totals $80 billion. So not only did they strike this deal, and yeah, it's better than the government defaulting and we get a black eye and a credit crisis happening and a crash in the dollar, and all those things are not good, but we just prolong the cancer of our debt structure in our country, and nobody wants to step up to the pump and deal with it. So that's what happened today, unfortunately.
Okay, so now what is going to happen? What do you foresee?
Well, the problem with it is that at the end of the day, somebody has to pay. Somebody has to hold the debt, because our debt, you have two things. You have the national debt, which they froze in March, of $18.1 trillion. So it's realistically, that's why when you hear all the candidates talk, they're saying it's $18.5 trillion. It's closer to $19 trillion once they put this all into place.
I don't care about the halves.
Okay, it's a lot of money. Okay,
exactly.
More money than we have. That's where it's really at.
Yeah.
We can't afford it. We are upside down. It's like we just had 10 credit cards and we just added 4 or 5 more. Is what we did. So we cannot service this debt. 40 cents on the dollar, every 40 cents of the dollar that goes to the government goes just to pay for the interest of the debt.
So we're doing what they tell us not to do.
We're doing what Greece did. We're doing what Italy did. We're doing what Portugal did. We're doing what Poland did. We're doing what Spain did. We're doing what a few more, Ireland did. All those countries I just mentioned and about 7 more, we're doing exactly what they did, and all those countries had a thing called a bail-in, which means somebody has to hold the financial bag at the end of the day. Somebody's got to get left holding the bag. Right now, China's holding our debt. They've been buying our dollars.
Right. So what is going to happen with that? What is going on with their currency and us?
That's another thing. China has been wanting to become the world reserve currency. And the International Monetary Fund has a thing called special drawing rights. It's a group of currencies. Currently, the U.S. dollar, the U.S. dollar, the Japanese yen, the euro, and the British pound, those four currencies comprise of the special drawing rights of the IMF. Well, China has been wanting to get their yuan a part of being the fifth currency in there. And I said on your program about 3 months ago, because the IMF made an announcement saying, we think we're going to kick the can down the road and we're not going to have them be a part in this meeting in November. Well, just a week ago, or this week, excuse me, the IMF did an about face all of a sudden. And I guess I'm saying to myself, why would they do such a thing? Here we are talking about the severe problem of the national debt and us possibly defaulting as a country, and they are wanting the IMF is saying, no, we're not going to have China. They've been saying
But don't we need them?
We need them to buy our debt. But we don't need them into the special drawing rights, because all that's going to do is compete for the dollar. China is the fourth currency in the world as far as trades happening. When the trade settles, it settles in Chinese yuan. They want to become the number one. And when they get closer to that level, by getting in the special drawing rights, they're going to be a group of these big four currencies. And so what this is going to do is going to cause other countries to, instead of use the dollar, they're going to cause to use the yuan.
Well, you're going to use the yuan.
So this is what we won't, because we live in the United States, but other countries will use the yuan.
I wouldn't understand it.
No, I can't speak the language or even read it. So, but here's the key. 5 countries this year, the 5 largest holders of the U.S. dollars, which is China, Russia, Norway, Brazil, and Taiwan, have all sold massive amounts of dollars this year. This is the biggest sell-off in the dollar, according to the Treasury, who's been reporting the selling of dollars since 1978. So from 1978 till now is what this means, Carol. There's been more selling of the dollars in 2015 than any other year combined since 1978. There is something up. Countries are selling the dollar. So here we are on a spending spree. Let's not just only raise the debt ceiling, let's spend more money. And at the end of the day, somebody has to hold that money. Somebody has to create and bring money into our country. And that's where they create a thing called a treasury bill when we overspend. Well, if the world is selling dollars or selling treasuries, who's going to buy them? And that's where the rubber meets the road. At some point in time, the teeter-totter is going to tip the other direction, and this could trigger what we saw in all these countries, Greece, Poland, all these countries that had a bail-in, Cyprus in their banking industry. We feel that this can happen at any point in time now, according to the Fed, they can.
Well, you have this coming bail-in, how to avoid it from affecting you, and you wrote this. It's a right page that you have. You know, I have people that literally, that when they hear you, they write me, okay? And I get them, they call me and say, hey, I heard this guy. I didn't get his number. I didn't get this. I want to give out your information.
Sure.
Because we're going to give this to everybody. You're going to get you want to give it to everyone. It's the coming bail-in. Tell them a little bit about the paper so I can give out your information.
It gives the history of how this happened in other countries. It gives the history of how America has been set up. In fact, there's more information on what has happened in America in setting up for this bail-in than the other 14 countries combined. And actually, since I've done this report, I've done a little bit more research. There's actually 2 more countries I didn't even include in here. So this gives the history of it. It talks about the Dodd-Frank Act that was passed, that is the legal law that now allows the government to do these things of seizing your assets and bank accounts and retirements. And it also talks a way of protecting yourself from the government intervening into your portfolio.
All right. So the first thing that they should do, just because we have 2 minutes before we go to a break and we're going to come back further, but what should they do?
This is the time where you have to diversify. I mean, what will happen is gold's going to continue to rise, because when the debt goes up, gold goes up, and the debt is going up now. For sure, it's going to go up for the next 2 or 3 years. So expect higher prices in gold, because the interest rates are going to get lower, not higher. They're talking about having negative interest rates. This is going to cause a panic. This is going to cause a possible downturn in the economy or maybe even a recession. So you will see higher prices in gold, and you'd rather buy them when they're lower than rather they're higher. So prepare yourself for this some sort of government intervention. We'll talk about that in a little bit. There's something that's come out recently that President Obama wants to put into effect to stop people from doing what I'm talking about. It's actually a government ruling that he wants to do. So before he puts that in place, get protected, roll over your IRA, roll over your 401k, a portion of it, or maybe all of it, depending up to you, into physical precious metals so that the government can't touch this. They flip the switch and you're protected.
Now, his phone number is area code 602-287-9200. You can check him out on his website. It is landmarkgold.com. Everyone who's calling in, you're going to get that coming bail-in. It's how to avoid it from affecting you. Call us here, and we're going to get you connected. Our number here is 602-277-5369.
If I traded it all, if I gave it all away for one thing.
We're talking with David Fisher, and David's been on many, many times. And David, you have really, what you're all about is education, educating the people out there. You're not here to scare anyone.
Actually, I'm scared.
I just was going to say that. You did say that. Okay, so and when you said that you were a little scared, I went, okay, that's it. Now I'm scared.
I've been doing this, like I said, a long time, over 2 decades. I've never been scared before until recently. I went through 2008. I wasn't scared. I wasn't scared in 2011 and the crisis that we face of a downgrade of a credit crisis. But I'm scared now because when a company like Overstock.com announces today that they bought $10 million of gold and 3 months of food for their employees in case the system falls apart. And we're talking about a Fortune 500 company announcing we have major financial problems in our country.
And but what I like is they're protecting their employees.
Yeah. So what did they do? They said, you know what? There's truth to this reality, or maybe it's not a reality that our debt isn't an issue. But you know what? We're not going to take the chance. Just like somebody having a house, I don't think my house is going to burn down, but I got to have homeowners insurance. I'm going to have a car, even though we're required to have all these types of insurances. You know, let's take health insurance. I don't have to have health insurance. I have health insurance, and I have life insurance just in case. Not because I want to die or because I want to get sick, but just in case if those events happen. It's a preventative maintenance thing. It's called good sense, common financial planning. Yet we plan more for a trip on a vacation than we plan our finances. What is the insurance policy on our money? And that's our biggest asset. And that's what gold comes into effect. That's why Overstock.com bought $10 million of gold, because they have a reality check going on in their management team saying, you know what? There is problems in our country. There is a sell-off going on in the dollar. There is a debt that is unsustainable, and someday there will be a day of reckoning. And they must feel it must be happening sooner rather than later. Otherwise, they would have done it a year from now or 2 years from now. But they're saying the time is now. And every time I've come on your program in the last 4 months, there's some big billionaire saying, I'm buying a lot of gold, or a big company. And there will be one next month when I'm on your program again, and the month after, because what's happening is people are waking up to the fact that there are some major financial problems that we just are choosing not to even address, evidenced by what happened today. So if the government's not going to address it, the individual has to address it, because you know what? The fact is, nobody can take care of your money better than you.
Oh, yeah.
And if you don't take care of your money now, it won't be there to take care of you later.
But I want to bring up something. Here's a perfect time to do that, because you mentioned it earlier, and I want to really quickly before we go on. You have to follow me on this one, because they have to hear how you, as your company, has come up with a way of them being able to do this that other companies haven't.
There's about, I'll say, I'm speculating on the number, 5 to 10% of the companies in my industry have figured what I'm going to share with you out. But most of the ones that I've checked into charge enormous legal fees.
The money. That
Okay?
was it.
So what we're talking about specifically is most companies saying you can't roll over your retirement account and take physical possession of your metals. Yes, you can. Just most don't understand how to do it. I didn't create the method. A lawyer did. A lawyer here in Phoenix that we use, and I've personally done thousands of these with him. And his legal fee is $350 for in-state, $385 of out-of-state if they live outside the state of Arizona to do this. While my competitors, the cheapest I found is $995, and there's one in Cave Creek that charges $1,995. So, I mean, the fee structure is very competitive, and he gets it done in 2 or 3 days. So this allows the person to take control of their future and hold the metals in their hands under the retirement without having a tax liability. And most companies have not figured that out. So
His number, it's 602-287-9200, landmarkgold.com, and you can get the white paper from us at 602-277-5369. Go ahead.
So I was talking to a client in Wickenburg about a month ago, and he had already bought metals from us and did what we talked about. And I have several clients up in Wickenburg. And he called me and he says, "Did you hear what the president's trying to do?" I go, "In reference to what?" He's trying to do a lot of things. He says, "He's trying to say that we can't do what we just did." I go, "What do you mean?" He goes, he says, "I'll send you the article." So many of you probably heard of the magazine called Independent Living, okay? On page 16 of the October issue, the article says, Obama, it's right here in my hand, Obama administration targets alternative investments. What they're trying to do is close this window that we're talking about right now, creating what you call a fiduciary rule, which shuts the ability to take possession of your metals or even have gold and real estate in your retirements.
Why would they do that?
Because they want you 100% in paper stocks so that it's easy to do the bail-in. Because that when you do the bail-in, all they do is flip an electronic switch and you can't access your paper investments. That's why it's so imperative that before they pass this ruling, whenever they may, and there's more rulings that are coming. In fact, if you watched in February, he says the Obama administration is targeting retirement accounts as his 2016 budget. So next year, he's going to probably try and get this done where for you to be a broker, an investor, a financial planner, you have to go through all these government classes of being regulated. So I say before he flips that switch, and this is his agenda clearly, get yourself rolled over, and we, for this, till the month of December, we are going to offer and pay for your LLC fee if you're rolling over 50K or more.
His phone number is 602-287-9200, landmarkgold.com. Our lines are open here, and people are calling in. Jim, you're on the air. What's your question?
Hey, Carol, I was wondering, he said he does this, and he's got this for competitors around town. I was wondering, will he meet or beat anybody else's competing price on silver rounds, bullion type of silver?
Absolutely, as long as it's a legitimate quote and I can do it without losing money. Absolutely, Jim. I'd love to help you understand that and do that for you.
You do free consultations. Yeah. Jim, he's going to call you. Let me give out his phone number to you, too, okay? And
right,
I'm going to do it slowly just for you. He's been listening to my show for a long time. The number is 602-287-9200. And we're going to get you connected with him. Thanks for listening.
Thanks, Jim.
Long-time listener. Okay, so here's the thing, okay? What you just said, people have to get on the gun with this.
Yeah.
We only have a couple of minutes, so tell them what to do and anything else you want to get in on today. We always go on I'm sorry about that.
No, it's okay. It comes down to a simple philosophy. If you think the government is not in control of its money and has no plan to pay down this debt and balance the budget and actually live within their means, and you think that 2008 really didn't get fixed, and there are things that are over-leveraged still in banks today, Don't ignore those things that are gnawing at you deep inside. It's just as simple as getting eggs at the grocery store, even though it wasn't on your list. You get home, you go, oh, should have got eggs. I needed them. My gut told me I needed eggs. If your gut is telling you something feels wrong and something's going to happen in the future, don't ignore that anymore, because it might be too late. Either they've done the bail-in, or the Obama shut the window down by creating this fiduciary rule. Call our company. Let's get educated. There is absolutely no pressure whatsoever. In fact, I demanded amongst my representatives, this is the thing I hire people for, no pressure, educate, facilitate, and help people do what they want to do.
The number again, it's 602-287-9200. It's landmarkgold.com. What are your final words?
I've said before, twice now in your program, I say third time's the charm, America is bankrupt. This is the first time I've ever said this in 23 years. America's bankrupt. We just have not filed the paperwork. So prepare yourself for it, because it is coming.
Give us a call here and get yourself connected with him. We're going to get you the white paper. It's the coming bail-in, how to avoid it from affecting you. Our number here is 602-277-5369, or call him direct. They do free consultations. They're going to help you understand all of this. 602-287-9200.